All right. We're back. We made it. One episode, now episode 2. I know people have been clamoring for this. We're going to blame Lucas. He was on vacation for the week. So, we're going to try to get this out sooner, but, hey, we got to take our vacation. So
I'm sorry to all of our adoring fans.
That's right.
I know you couldn't wait for this.
Yeah. That's right. So, but, all right. Well, first I'm going to just start with paying homage, just so people know. Plenty do, but all right. Here's the patriarch right here. This is a now 26-year-old picture, opening day when we thumped Washington, because we always love to thump Washington. My personal favorite, again, many Giants fans, their arch rival is the Eagles. Not my house. It's the Redskins. I grew up in their backyard. And, just did not enjoy them at all. So it always sucked when we lost to them. So anyway, all right. And I also am wearing Saquon. It's the one and only time I will wear Saquon. He's relevant to this episode. And technically, at least on Hard Knocks, he's still on the team. So he hasn't left the team yet. Although
the timeline,
I think in the next episode, pretty much, he will be gone. So based on where they are. Anyway. All right. So I'm going to start by just, we're going to talk about some Hard Knocks. And then the Giants are doing a really cool thing. They put out their top 100 players of all time. They started 191, and then they went 90 to 81. And so I certainly want to talk about that. There's a lot of familiar and recent names, like I said, including this guy. He made the list, probably deservingly so. I don't want to say he wasn't one of our top 100 players, but anyway. So I'm going to get give me your take. I'll start with Lucas. What did you kind of take out of this Hard Knocks episode?
I thought it was pretty cool to watch them go through all the process of everyone it was all quarterbacks and it was only receivers they talked about. We knew there was some smoke that they were looking at Joe Alt too, but we didn't hear his name mentioned, so I don't know why. They were like, oh, you'll trade up to 3 for that. That was cool to see. Discussion started, the Burns conversation continued to go. But yeah, it was really cool. I think I read that it's never been shown draft interviews that happened that have been from the team that have not you didn't draft them.
I
right?
got you right.
I don't believe that's ever been allowed to be released until this.
Okay,
so that was cool. And then it also made me realize I definitely am all in on Dayball.
Yes.
Baker here wants to say hi.
I'm Baker.
All in on Dayball, watching him grill the quarterbacks. It was all right, now we're going to change everything. Do you still know what the play is? So,
Baker.
Yeah. So those are my thoughts.
Which of those? Cool. Which of those quarterbacks impressed you the most with his ability?
Oh, Drake May, and it hurts even more that we couldn't get it done and get it. That's who I wanted. I was not impressed by Jaden Daniels. He couldn't even remember the play, and I don't know. I want my guy. So it's a real shame to get 2 free easy wins against him twice a year for the rest of his career.
I figured they want to talk to Daniels so they could learn more about their boy, the receiver Neighbors. So they were just picking his brain.
Probably.
Yeah.
I was also really impressed with their Doomsday. I would have been very okay with picking Rome after watching his combine and hearing him speak. I would have been easy. Neighbors is definitely a Dayball guy and not a Shane guy. Doomsday was definitely a Shane guy.
How about your take there, Paco?
I thought it was interesting that Dayball made the comment that they're sitting there about to do the interviews with everyone, and he just had mentioned watching Neighbors tape like it was new to him. So I don't know if it was the talks had spurred the moment there at the draft about Neighbors or what, but he was it sounded like he was just getting familiarized with them. So that was interesting. I loved how everybody was in tune with Worthy trying to break the 40 record and how they
that was pretty cool.
They kept it light with Dayball talking about running the 7-0 and whatnot.
that was very funny. And that kept playing. He would not let go of that. He was a dog with a bone on that. So I don't know why they just didn't have him do it. Maybe that's going to come up in an episode or in training camp. But, and of course, being the old guy I am, I have to say that's not the record. The record is Bo Jackson, so let's just be clear, okay? Bo Jackson, he ran a sub 4.2, but it was back when it wasn't official. In fact,
it was hand.
You ever heard?
It's
a funny
there's guys
story.
that have had there's guys that have had faster 40s at pro days. I think they're more considering
it's
it.
That's why I said the combine.
I know, the combine record.
They kept referring to the underwear Olympics.
Yes, which was very funny. But, you know, the Bo Jackson story is funny because he showed up, really didn't want to do it. He runs it the first time, and it's like a 4.25 or something, but he slows down at the end. And they're like, Bo, please, just run it all out. He goes, well, you're going to have to open the doors because I need more room to stop. So, so then he runs it, you know, it's sub 4.2 and he just keeps going and leaves. He's gone. It was so Bo.
Like that run was against Seattle where he just ran out of the back of the end zone and never came back in.
That's right. They sent him all the way to Tacoma. So, yeah, what I thought just going even to the beginning of it that was really fascinating to me was, I guess I'm not surprised, but damn, they have a lot of scouts. Like, there's just a lot of scouts.
Big country, a lot of football players.
It's amazing.
A lot of schools.
It's amazing. But you know what's funny is, you know, the combine, what we get to see, right, is all about the underwear Olympics. But you could see, for them, it's all about who are these guys, right? How do they think? But what I find funny is, how does a guy like Kadarius Toney get through them? Like, what? Like, did you challenge him at all? Because somehow you picked him, and he hasn't proven to be the sharpest tool in the shed. So anyway,
well, they made that remark to Marvin Harrison because they kind of said like, "Hey, why aren't you working out?" He kind of made that remark like, "I kind of know I'm ready." Like
he doesn't. I don't need to.
My tape sells itself. I don't need to go out there and do anything stupid. So you can't blame him for that.
I don't think Neighbors worked out either at the combine. I think most of them just go there because all the teams were there for the interviews.
They were, and Dunze was, I think, the only one that had went through like drills and stuff. So
I give those guys credit though, man. That's an environment. I mean, being that young quarterback, going in that room, there's like 30 people in that room. I mean, and Dayball is just hammering them, and although you could tell, I mean, he was kind, like he likes the guys, like he was, but he was pushing their buttons. I thought it was interesting though when Shane said I think this was early in the episode, about Saquon, where he said, I wanted to give Saquon a lot of money last year and he didn't want it. I mean, it's so obvious that Shane he's done with it. Like it's not Saquon, it was Shane that's just like I'm done with you. So it was
an interesting dynamic too to see how the conversation went with Saquon compared to his agent. Like he was like to the agent, like, this is how I'm approaching him. I just want you, let you know. You could kind of tell Saquon on the phone was kind of fed up and was kind of over it at that point. So
agreed.
I mean, for all parties, I feel like this is just the best thing for both sides at this point. Yeah. So I don't blame them.
And I didn't realize that Dayball's pedigree with quarterbacks included Favre.
He was the Jets OC.
Did not realize that. So
Tua Hurts. A lot of those guys.
Allen. Dayball's the guy. I'm not worried about him.
Yes, I am kind of concerned about Joe Shane though. I don't know that he's the guy. I'm not. I haven't been impressed by him in this. I don't know. We'll see. So. Yeah, and did you catch too when they said something about Jones possibly missing like the first 3 games? I caught that too.
I think they were just saying to cover themselves in case he
at the time it wasn't looking too hot for him, and I hope they haven't made any mentions of it yet in the Hard Knocks, but it'll be interesting to see how the Drew Lock conversation comes up. Yeah, I would have to imagine that's a factor in that. Like, hey, he's not looking too good for the opener, or the first couple games, we need somebody that could possibly step in.
It'll be definitely interesting.
This next one will definitely be the Burns trade will finally go through because that was like a day or two before free agency, and then the Saquon will play out. They barely mentioned X, like I don't, but there was less drama there. It was kind of like, hey, we can't afford to pay you what the Packers are offering, like so we feel like we can replace you easier, and that's kind of like the philosophy is Shane doesn't pay safeties or running backs. Yeah, he's not going to do that because they're not positions of high value. Which I get it. Like you replace Saquon and X with Brian Burns.
Okay, better pay off. Yeah,
or Christian Wilkins. I didn't realize they were that close to signing Christian Wilkins.
I know. This is what you don't want to hear, right? Like, you didn't get him. Like, come on.
Well, they can't. That would be him, Dex. and Burns, Dex, and Christian Wilkins would have been taking up $100 million in cap space.
Yeah, no, fair point. And I mean, but they did get the good news that the cap went up. So
yeah,
that was an interesting start to the episode too. Yeah, I thought Marvin Harrison Jr. had a funny line though when he said, "I don't say anything to quarterbacks." Like that cracked me up. So, but Drew, what give me as a at least a college athlete, what'd you run in the 40?
The fastest I ever ran was a senior day at Maryland. I ran a 4.6.
Okay.
But like you have to have it's got to be like it's
that downhill with wind, or
it's got to be like wind at your back.
Yeah.
You got to be light in the shorts. It's got to be the perfect kind of day to run something like that, because I tell you, those drills alone can humble a lot of people. It's just like the 3-cone drill, the 40, the broad. I don't think it's as big testing wise in terms of that high school to college transition now, because of the amount of tapes and stuff out there. The 7-on-7 stuff is big now, so they don't look at that stuff. But with all those fans cheering for those guys running the 40 at the combine, it's at least NFL wise, it's a guy that's expected to run something fast, he could drop a couple rounds just because he ran a certain time or things like that. Look at the Worthy kid out of Texas. Nobody thought that he was going to be a late first, early second, wherever he was. He a first, late first?
He was the chief. Yeah, he went to the chief.
Yeah, late first. So that guy got him a paycheck just off of that. So
yeah, but I mean, history has shown straight speed is overrated. I don't know if you ever heard this story, but back in the 49ers heyday, kind of late in the Montana era, there was an Olympic hurdler named Ronaldo Nehemiah. Look him up. Like, ridiculous speed. And they gave him a shot, and it was entertaining to watch the speed this guy had, but he couldn't catch a cold. But there was also the great Willie Gault for the Bears. Look him up, because he was amazing, and he was an Olympic sprinter. So you never know how it's going to go. So,
but I will say that the 40 stuff is cool, but it's definitely a huge difference between that and actual football speed. Being out in the open, making guys miss, stuff like that, is two totally different ball games. So the combine stuff is cool. Like I love that they kept just saying the underwear Olympics, but for sure some guys it does transition well. You look at Tyreek Hill. You can put him on the U.S. Olympic 4x1 team right now, and he could do well in the Olympics this summer.
He also has amazing speed in his breaks though too. Like he just 0 to 60, left to right. Like he's amazing when it comes to his ability to change direction without losing speed. So I was one of those people that was dumb enough to think that Patrick Mahomes made him. I don't think so. Not the Mahomes. I mean, they're both great. I'm just gonna say that they're both great. But so another cool thing for me in that episode, because it's in Indianapolis, is they went to St. Elmo's Steakhouse. I've been to that steakhouse, and that I tell you that the wasabi sauce they have for their cocktail sauce. I knew they were all gonna be like.
He was like that cleared me out.
Oh my gosh, that clears your nasal passages big time, man. That stuff will get you. The Giants Super Bowl year had to I think it was either the Friday or Saturday night for the Super Bowl. They had that place. They went and ate there, so it brought them good luck. So anyway. The other thing I noticed too, and it was a difficult conversation we kind of talked about a little bit, was when Shane and Barkley spoke, I noticed that Joe used the past tense quite a bit. Appreciate everything you did for us. Like, in other words, you're not doing anything else. So, it's sad. Anyway, any other things on the Hard Knocks?
No, the episodes are a little shorter than what the training camp ones are. They're only running about 40 minutes, so there's a little less. But I'm sure there's a lot of cutting out that they're doing. Like, I heard a rumor, like, Dayball was playing music to whenever he's talking about something important with Shane, he would turn the music up so they can listen in because of the copyright infringement. So
I believe
there's
it.
a lot I'm sure that we're missing out on that they discussed.
I believe it. Yeah. Well, and we'll let the fans know we've got we're going to have our sideline reporter. So again, as season ticket holders and more verification, right? So this just came parking passes for the year. This is the only memento we get for a game now. How ridiculous is that, right? I mean, where are the paper tickets? Like I still got like behind me in this book over here, NFC playoff game, NFC championship game tickets. What do you do with a digital ticket? Like I think we're
all on your phone.
We're missing something.
I'm surprised the parking
time.
passes and you just have to put in your like if you get a code and you put in your like your car type and then your license plate number.
Yeah,
that's good. It's going to move eventually.
What's funny is I've transferred to people electronically. Like in other words, when I sell a ticket or something, you can just do it on your phone too. So I'm surprised they're still giving them out paper wise. So anyway, but yeah, so the parking pass is here. All right, let's start talking a little bit about this top 100. So I love the format. It's our man Papa. Come on, Papa. I used to love when Shannon Sharp and he had to show you that. Papa, come on. It was Shannon, Papa. But with one of the panelists, and I thought I can't remember her name, the woman that was a panelist. She seemed real sharp. Definitely been Giants for a long time. But they had two guys that were on the list. So Lucas, it was Richie Seubert and Lawrence Tynes, because they were in Seibert's 100, Tynes is 91. So I thought having those two guys in the room talking about it was pretty cool. And Tynes is one of those guys, man. He loves that he was a Giant. He absolutely loves it because he was a Chief first, and he still lives in Kansas City, but he's a Giant through and through. So I'll read the list off. It's Seubert, Brad Benson. So I love it. Two linemen. Benson was the line back in the Parcells era. Also number 60, another center, number 60. This guy, Eddie Price from way back. This is the one that breaks my heart the most. We'll talk about him. Hakeem Nicks. I love Hakeem.
Yeah.
Willie Williams, then Saquon, Eric Howard, he was the reason we let Jim Burt go. So Jim Burt, 86, and then in 90, he's the one that almost took out Hostetler, dirty play in the NFC Championship game, and Howard was his replacement. Then Terry Kennard, great defensive back, Darrell Dess, and then Tynes. So in that list, I mean, you guys tell me your thoughts on Hakeem.
Oh, I met him, so it's funny.
That's right. I forgot about that. Tell us about that.
That was a couple years ago. I was going to a Monday night game against Dallas. I was with my dad, mom, and one of my good friends, Aaron. We got food at Houlihan's.
Right.
Before the game. We're sitting at the bar, and at first it was Charles Oakley comes in, and we actually have a family friend that played basketball with Charles Oakley in college. So
at Virginia Union,
Yep.
Union, yeah.
So we talking to Charles Oakley, and he's talking about how he's got a tailgate and everything before the game, and he's waiting on Stephen Baker, the touchdown maker. So he's waiting for his buddy Steve. So we're all sitting there chatting up, eating, and in walks in Hakeem Nicks, and just it was casual stroll by, and I'm like, hey, Hakeem, and I shook his hand, and it put into perspective because I've shook Odell's hand too from being on the sideline.
That's right, he dapped him.
Dapping him up.
Yeah.
And it was the same ordeal, engulfed my whole wrist, everything. So it put in perspective of how big his hands were as a receiver. But really cool dude, down to earth. So and it spoke to what Tynes and and the was it Richie Seubert?
Richie Seubert, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
It spoke to them, saying basically he was a cool customer. He came in, did his thing, didn't really talk any junk, just showed up on Sunday and played. So I thought it was cool he made the top 100.
Your thoughts, my son, on Mr. Nicks?
He was great. It's always a shame that I think it was a foot injury against the Bucks that really just kind of derailed it from there. He had a crazy game that game too, but he was an awesome receiver. Him and Cruz, I just try and imagine him. It could have been him, Cruz, and Odell. It could have been that.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
I mean, we also might not have drafted Odell if we had both those two still. So it goes
maybe
both
not.
ways, but
who knows?
Hakeem was awesome. I think I had his jersey.
You did. Well, not only that, like
yeah.
I'll never forget your first day of college. You're sitting on your bed, and the only thing on your wall is a poster of Hakeem Nicks.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So Tynes said in that episode too that his favorite Giants picture ever, and he has it in his house.
Yeah,
is
the three of them.
The candlestick is Manningham, Cruz, and Hakeem Nicks, and them walking. That is a pretty cool picture.
It is.
So he said he's got that hanging in his house. So
I tell you, he is, and we've had plenty of offensive guys that we've drafted that had promise and had injuries. His is the one that hurts the most because I just thought he was fantastic. I mean, that playoff run he had, like if Fitz didn't have the one he had, Nicks would still hold all the records. I mean, Nicks was unbelievable. I mean, Lucas, you and I were at that Falcons game. And he was amazing in that one. The only more amazing thing I saw was when Odell had that game against the Ravens. That wasn't in the playoffs. So, I mean, he just was a stud, and he had he carried himself great. So it was just really, really sad that his career was so short because he could have been much higher on this list. I mean, much higher. So,
I still think he should have been much higher on this list. If you would have put him in the 70s, I don't know.
Yeah, I wouldn't have a problem with that
one.
Well, I'll put this way.
I'm very curious to see.
I'm very curious to see where Mr. Beckham ends up. So I'll tell you that. So, because I got my own thoughts on it, and we'll deal with it when he shows up. but you know, and here's another interesting thing too, though, that Papa said, and it's more evidence about Saquon, is he said Saquon got emotional when he called him. Like to tell him that he was part of it. And I'm telling you, that guy wanted to be a lifelong Giant. I think he really did. And it's just, it's too bad. It's too bad. And, you know, I think Mara wanted him. So, anyway.
That was the clip at the end. That's what we're going to see next episode. Mara says, I'm going to lose sleep if this happens. And Baines has the exact contract he signed with the Eagles. It's just $1 million more. So, I think it could have happened if cooler heads prevailed, but I think last year, like rejecting last year and put a lot of toll, and Shane was like, "I'm done."
That was. He
could have been
mentally.
I agree.
But,
mentally he was done.
I agree. I did love how these guys talk about Wellington Mara, you know, and tell some his stories because he was a great man. Let's you know, and this is where I would love to have my dad because a couple of these guys were guys from the '60s and the '50s, you know, and that's what I was telling you guys when we were texting. I'm like, when you think about how many Hall of Famers and great players we had when we were in the championship game every year, those guys got to be on this list. So, all right, 90 to 81, we got Aaron Thomas, then our man Jason Sehorn, who was a stud. Big Howard Cross.
He was the co-host, too.
Yeah. Sehorn was one of the co-hosts. And then Corey Webster at 87. Eric Barnes, then David Meggett, who one of my favorite all-time players. Him and Bradshaw being 85 and 84 is a great...
I was going to say Bradshaw is probably top two for me all-time, just growing up in that Bradshaw-Jacobs era.
And then my man Carey is way too high on this list. He needs to be lower. He was a really good quarterback for us. And then you got our man Kareem McKenzie and then Frank Cope. So I'm going to comment a little bit to start here on... I happened to be there when Sehorn had that Eagles... touchdown, and I mean, we thought there's no way he caught that. Like it was one of these things where like they're calling this back, you know. There's just no way. And so what's funny about those replay things when you're live is you get excited in the moment, and then you're like, nah, they're gonna call it back, and then you just sit there and you're like, I'm not gonna cheer because they're gonna call it back. So you hold it in, and then they call it right, and you go crazy again. So it's too funny, but that play was just ridiculous.
You would have just been, with the play alone, you would have been just happy with the interception with how it happened.
Yeah.
The fact that he took it for 6 was even crazier.
Yeah. So what did you think about them having all the DB conversations where you had Webster and Sehorn, and the way he talked about that play I thought was funny. Did you catch that?
Yeah, the way there was like a wow, I can't believe a guy of this skin tone did that kind of deal. So
but there was also that he did two things wrong. Like he undercut the play, and the coaches are going, no, nice play.
The big no-nos for a corner.
Yeah.
You know, never undercut. You know, never leave your feet because if you do miss, like he said, it's that guy's out there by himself. He's alone. So
he's on his own.
But
island.
But that Corey Webster picking off Brett Favre's last pass as a Packer was pretty. I forgot about that too.
Never forget watching that one.
No,
that was a cool thing they brought up as well. I forgot about that.
Where were you when you watched that one, Lucas?
I was with you in the living room.
You were watching that. You were in the basement with us watching that. That was the freezing cold.
I was with you. I was definitely watching.
I thought you were at college. That's why I wasn't sure.
No, the Webster intercepting Favre.
Webster was
like 07. No, you're right. That was 07. Not
07. Yeah, Webster was 07.
No. We got bad once I went to college. That's when it all went down.
Sorry, you were
never gone to college.
We were all hunkered down in the basement, so watching that one. So, yeah. No, that was special. So our man Howard Cross is interesting. I did not realize he played in the first 3 Super Bowls. I didn't realize he hung around that long. I mean, that's amazing because
that was pretty cool.
We used to see him a few preseason games I went to. He always does he do the sideline stuff right in our end zone. So he is a mountain of a man. Absolutely.
He still does. He still does. I see him all the time at the games.
Yeah, Howard's a good man. Oh, I do want to go back to Seibert real quick because he's part of one of the plays I'm still angry about. Still angry about. Do you know what play that is? It was a playoff game against the 49ers.
So, was he the phantom holding call or the
no?
On the
he was the receiver, the eligible receiver on the the botched field goal when they threw the pass and he gets tackled, and they said he wasn't eligible and he totally was eligible. And then the next day, the NFL they issued us an apology. How nice of them! They apologized. Yeah, that sucked.
Let me ask you this:
Go.
Do you think that Brandon Jacobs is going to be pretty low on this list if they already have Bradshaw kind of like already spoken for?
That's a great point. I bet he's in the next group.
He has to be
because he's the all-time leading touchdown getter.
You can't say one without the other.
He's going to be lower.
Okay, I like Lucas's argument. He does have the most touchdowns.
He's the all-time touchdown leader. If he's above 50, I would be shocked.
Okay,
that's true.
Interesting.
That's true.
Interesting.
Because he had a longer career than Bradshaw as well. So
yeah,
he was the main guy. Like I know he wasn't the main guy the second time around, but all-time leading touchdowns.
It's time for a little Dave Meggett trivia. All right, Dave Meggett. Do you know where he went to college? It's local to where you grew up, Drew.
Yeah, why do
aren't
I know
that many choices?
He was he Maryland? No,
but a Maryland school.
That's what I'm saying.
Basically, it's right between York and where you lived.
It's Towson.
Towson. He went to Towson.
Yes, I knew it was something local. Yeah,
well,
Towson.
It gets funnier. They had 2 players from Towson on the team and in that era at the same time. You know who the other one was?
Really?
Yeah. A guy who will be on this list, I think. Sean Landetta, their punter. He was a Towson guy too. Yeah.
That's funny.
And apparently he was quite the ladies' man. How is that possible? I watched his I listened to this book on the Giants on that season, and all these guys talk about how he just like the punter, but apparently Landetta had it going on. So anyway, all right. Well, Ahmad, I'll never forget. The Buffalo touchdown.
Oh yeah.
Mainly because our TV went out, and so we're in the driveway listening to it on Sirius.
Shout out DirecTV. Shout out.
Yep.
So all we heard was the Bob Papa call. So yeah.
Between that and they did talk about it in the top 100 deal, but the stop, don't score was like, well, I feel like that was like a heart dropper when it happened live, and then to think about it, like it made sense of why they were telling him not to score because it was Brady 2.0 again. We're like, we don't want to give this guy the ball again. They still ended up with it, the Hail Mary try, but I feel like that doesn't get talked about enough. Him trying to stop himself.
Again, I had the blessing of being there, and your Uncle Steve and I were having a heart attack. We were like, because it was right in the end zone where we were sitting, and we're like, no. Yeah, and Eli tells that story pretty funny too, where he you could see him do it too. Like he starts to go back, goes, you know what? I don't want to say it because what if he messes up or he doesn't hear me or he's like Eli in his paranoia, so he doesn't say anything. So, yeah. Well, I want to talk a little bit about Kerry Collins. So he is He's arguably the greatest NFL quarterback that came out of Penn State. Of course, until the great Bo Perbula comes out. So our man Bo. Bo will end up surpassing Kerry Collins. But I'll never forget when they beat the Vikings, right? So they go to the championship. That's the last game your grandfather was at. So it was me, Uncle Pete, Uncle Steve, and Pop were there. And going into that game, just knowing what I knew about the Vikings and their defense, there's an old movie. It's called Mr. Holland's Opus. Have you ever seen it? And an opus is kind of like your big thing, what you're known for. And I turned it to Pop before the game. I said, we're going to call this Mr. Collins Opus. And then he goes and throws 5 touchdown passes and just absolutely shreds the Vikings. So I
was 41 nothing?
41 nothing.
Yeah.
41 nothing. Like
success against the Vikings in the playoffs.
Yeah. What's funny is, Randall Cunningham beat us when he was with the Vikings in the playoffs in Giant Stadium too, though. Go look that up. Ugh.
It's an Eagle thing, though. If he would never played for the Eagles, it would never happen.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, but for that game, 41 nothing. What's really cool is it's really almost, as a fan, as a season ticket holder, that's your Super Bowl. If you get to host the championship game that takes you into the Super Bowl, because it's all your people. It's not a diluted crowd. Having been to a Super Bowl, although the Giants fans still outnumbered the Patriots in that one, there were still plenty of Patriots fans, but when it's in your stadium and you get to go, you don't have to sign your life away to pay for tickets like the Super Bowl. It's amazing. So hopefully we'll get to do that together someday, because that's the only negative I have on Eli's career is win some damn home playoff games, man.
Well, there was, because on both of those runs with Eli, it was just the Falcons game at home.
Yeah, you were there for that one. Yeah,
and that was.
Go ahead.
That was what that was the 11th season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Was 07 all road games, because they were the Road Warriors, right?
Yeah, started out with the Bucks,
Dallas, Green Bay.
Yep. And technically we were the road team in the Super Bowl too. That's why we're wearing the white jerseys both times, because we were the road team both times. Yeah, I don't know what it was about that guy. And what's sad is we're now, this will be the 14th season in the stadium, which just blows my mind that we're already 14 years into that stadium. But 14 years in, and for 2 franchises, so equivalent of 28, one playoff game. One.
The Jets haven't made the playoffs since the year the stadium opened, because they missed the playoffs for 13 consecutive seasons.
Yeah,
they're not. I blame the Jets. They're not really doing their part. Like we at least won a Super Bowl since that stadium opened. Like we hosted 8 playoffs.
They don't even need to do the blinds on Sunday when they switch the teams.
Always
they just need
a
to
little
leave
brother.
Well,
leave it Giants at all times.
They brought the curse on themselves in 11 when they were the home team and they covered up our Super Bowl paintings on the walls, our mural. I'm like, yeah, you're just poking the bear there, man. You don't want to. So anyway, they'll always be our little brother. All right, guys, let's wrap this up. Any final thoughts as we end this week?
Nope, I'm good. We'll hopefully get set a little earlier next week. I won't be on vacation this time.
Yeah, well, how about you, Drew?
Nah, nothing from me.
All right. Well, again, we'll try to get this done earlier in the week. I think we should do like at least our part of it. We'll talk about when we do that, but I'd love to get this out by the weekend each time. So anyway, shout out to both of you. I'll play us out with the music. I love this music. All right, guys. Have a good night. Love you both. See ya.
See ya.
Take care.